You talk about a little bit about time, about the time for pain, the time for peace.
What is striking about this attack, it's not just the atrocities that the Hamas committed, torturing children, killing parents in front of their children or children in front of their parents, kidnapping babies that are now held hostage in Gaza. It is that they aimed for these atrocities to be publicized, including by carrying cameras and taking images and videos of these terrible things. And you try to think, why? And the reason is that Hamas didn't want just to kill civilians. It wanted to kill any chance for peace, not just now, but generations to come. Why now? Why on the 7th of October? The reason is that Israel and Saudi Arabia were just on the verge of signing a historic peace treaty, which was supposed to normalize relations between Israel and most of the Arab world, and also to restart the Israeli-Palestinian peace process and to offer some immediate concessions that would have alleviated the suffering of Palestinians under Israeli occupation. Now, this chance for peace and normalization was a huge threat to Hamas and Iran that oppose any attempt for peace in the region. And this is why Hamas struck. It was meant to destroy the Israeli-Saudi peace deal and also to ensure that there won't be peace for generations. Vital to understand, because I hear many people, in different countries, in Brazil, in the USA, in Britain, which talk about the rights of Palestinians and the need to free Palestine. And I completely agree that I have been a vocal critic of the Netanyahu government for years for not making an effort to reach a peace treaty with the Palestinians. But what people need to understand, Hamas is not trying to restart the peace process. It's aiming to destroy all chance for peace now and in future.
But it's a very tricky time, because I think that we have pain on both sides right now. And when you are in pain, it's very hard to think about peace. When you're angry, when you're feeling something really bad. And I truly don't think that two wrongs don't make a right. So that's why I think what's happening next, I'm super concerned about that.
If you now in Israel try to talk about the pain of Palestinian civilians in Gaza, people treat you almost as a traitor. And it's the same if you're in Gaza and you try to say something about the suffering of Israelis. Very dangerous. To pick one side of this complex reality and to think, okay, they are 100% pure and good and right. They never do anything wrong. And the other side, they are 100% evil. Everything is because of them. They are to blame for everything. This is intellectually and emotionally lazy. And this doesn't contribute to peace. So at the present moment, when I think Israelis and Palestinians are incapable, really, psychologically, to see the complexity of the situation and to keep the space for peace, this is the job of outsiders. People, nations, they can be victims and perpetrators at the same time.
Brazil did a statement this week in the Security Council of United Nations that was denied by the United States. But I think everybody is trying to help somehow, no?
I think that the principles should be, first of all, to clearly distinguish between Hamas and the Palestinian population. Hamas is a terrorist organization. Palestinians, people are not Hamas. Some of them support Hamas, but it's still not the same thing. And Israel has every right and duty to protect its citizens and to disarm Hamas. Anybody who is interested in peace should also be in favor of disarming Hamas, because as long as Hamas is a powerful armed organization, there won't be peace. At the same time, it should be very clear that Israel must respect the basic human rights of Palestinian civilians, and that the aim of this war should not be just to disarm Hamas, but to create conditions that will allow Palestinian civilians to live in their homeland, dignified lives and peaceful lives at some point in the future.
So I want to understand from your point of view, how does the Netanyahu's populism bear responsibility for what is happening now, today in Israel?
So Netanyahu and his government, of course, they are not to blame from the Hamas attack, but they do share a huge responsibility for the dysfunction of the Israeli state. And Netanyahu has built his political career on dividing the nation against itself, depicting entire sections of the Israeli nation as traitors. And he systematically appointed people to key positions based only on political loyalty, irrespective of their qualifications. It's like you described, it's like termites eating the state from within. And this is a warning, I think, for every democracy around the world. If you elect these kind of populists as your leaders, then in times of crisis, like the COVID-19 or like now with this war, you will pay a very, very heavy price for it.
When I listened to you the first time 10 years ago, you were talking exactly about why we are living the most peaceful time in the world. What happened in this decade? Why we move backwards so hard?
You had systematic attack on the global order. And when you destroy order, what you get is disorder, is chaos. It's very simple. And again, it wasn't just Putin. It was some of the countries who were in the forefront of building the global order, like the USA. They chose leaders who deliberately attacked the values of the liberal order and destroyed the global institutions and so forth. And they didn't offer an alternative. They just said, my country first. I'll make my country great. That's good. Make your country great. But how different countries behave towards each other? How different countries negotiate trade and military problems and so forth. They had no idea how to manage the international community. And if we don't restore the global order, what we are now seeing in Israel and Palestine and Ukraine, we will see it in more and more areas around the world.